Hey everyone, Beebs here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, thanks for stopping by. It's great to have you here. Today I'm going to break down and dial in one of my favorite presets that I use in the Fractal Audio FM3. I've used this tone on many of my videos, and actually a couple of you got in touch with some nice comments about the tone on my previous couple of videos. So I thought I'd break that down today. It's the tone you heard me playing with on the intro to this video, and if you want to get that for your FM3, FM9 or FX3, I'll link it in the description along with the backing track that I was using if you want to jam over it. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for the kind words about the tone and my playing. Much appreciate the view and the subscribing, etc. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so we're in FM3 edit and I've got my main preset loaded. As you can see here, this is Dumb Amp Forward. So we're starting on scene 2. So this is with the low drive sound. And even now, this is very low drive. So if I play on the neck pickup very lightly, it's very clean. If I dig in a bit, you can hear it breaks up. On the bridge pickup, you can hear it's a drive tone. So starting on the amp block in the middle of the chain, I will work out in either direction. And I'm starting on channel B because channel A is what has the clean tone on it, which is what we're not looking at. So starting on channel B. So it's really quite juiced up already because I find that the model, this ODS-100 Forward in the Fractal, doesn't have as much gain as the real amp appears to. It feels like you have to really push it, all the controls, to get it quite as gainy. So I've got the first gain here at 6.02, 9.91 for the overdrive. The overdrive volume, which is equivalent to the ratio, is all the way up, and I don't remember setting that. I think that was like an additional update in firmware 21 or something for the FX3. Bass is here, just pulled back off of 5, so 4.64. Mids at noon, 5.35 for the treble, and then the presence down at 3. And importantly, the bright is on. I find the bright is really useful for that kind of clarity. There's so much warmth and low end from, I think, these Dumbles that I think it doesn't hurt to have the bright on. Got the master at 4.5, and then I've just the scene or the block level is at minus 12 dB there. So yeah, this is the lowest of the drive kind of sounds. Actually, before I go any further, I'll go through the cab block because that will apply to all of the amp channels. So I'm using both legacy cabs and Dynacabs. I've got the option of changing these, but I default and personally will use the legacy ones here. So I'm using legacy 167 and legacy 106. Low cuts at 80, I've got the high cut at 8 on this one, and then the slopes at 12 dB per octave. And then I've basically cloned that sound or that channel into B and just changed it ever so slightly. So here they're not panned, and then there's less of a high cut, so 6 dB per octave, and then 10 kilohertz high cut. And then on channel C and D, I've got Dynacab versions. And what I've tried to do there is recreate what I have with the legacy with Dynacabs, so using the Dumble cabs, the EVs, ribbon condenser, and roughly get it as close as I could. So here's an interesting difference actually. If I play with the legacy cab, Dynacab, like I say, I keep it on channel A for all the scenes of my default in this preset. But going back into the amp block, so let's go on to scene 3. And this is my favorite scene, I think. This is the one that I really, really like. And this is what I'm calling it cut drive on here. But I find this is where I kind of diverge from how I think people set up Dumbles, in that I'm not going for that super low end or lower mids throaty pushed kind of sound. I find this really nice to play, and then it has a lot of clarity and still a lot of warmth to it, and the low end doesn't get in the way. It's not like aggressive. Now this is partly due to how I'm setting things up. So in the ideal tab, again, I've got the cut turned on, and this is just kind of just reducing some of that super low end. Now what I do need to do, in fact I'm doing this actually now in real time, is slightly adjust the bass control, because I've found that since the firmware 8 version, there was some overall improvements with Cygnus X3 modeling that kind of changed some of the lower end and those lower mid sounds. So I think what I need to do when I was comparing those tracks back to back in the FM3 firmware comparison, I noticed a little bit too much low cut. So I think what I'm going to do is just bring the bass up ever so slightly. Yeah, so I've got the gain, first gain now at 7.44. The overdrive is all the way up there. Bass at 3.8 now. Mid still at noon. Treble's pushed up to 5.35. Presence at 3. Depth at 0. Master at 4.5. And then, yeah, what else? Bright switch is still on. And that ratio overdrive volume is at full up at 10 again. And I find it really nice and easy to play, like it bounces. The notes kind of bounce off the fretboard, even though it's not particularly driven. It's, you know, I can still get super clean sound when I want to play lead or legato stuff. It's really comfortable to play. I'm not fighting it at all. And yes, again, that's what I found so interesting about the guys on that pedal show, and they're talking about how the amp is like so it's almost got to fight it. It's very revealing. I kind of find that the models or the virtual world here, and certainly how I'm setting it, are really comfy to play and really kind of, I wouldn't say forgiving, but yeah, really works well for the way that I like to play and have an amp respond. Yeah, once more, it's on the neck pickup. This is one of my favorite sounds to play when I just pick up the guitar and turn on the Axe effects. It's just such a nice sound. So that's on the neck pickup. If I switch to the bridge, obviously it gets more broken up. But there's also some of that honk that starts to come out. Hear it on those middle strings and lower strings. Still really, really dynamic though. Everything else within the preamp here and the power amp and all of the other settings I have not touched, I've not messed with. I may have changed the auto impedance on the speaker to off and set it to rumble. I can't remember. I don't remember whether this defaults to a different speaker or not. But anyway, I've set, that's the only other thing I've changed. And everything else, yeah, is just default there. So no need to worry about all the deep settings. I'm not doing anything crazy there. And to my mind and my ears, it's this cut and the lower bass that's really making the difference here. And I think preventing some of that overly aggressive and overly muscular kind of lower mids sort of overpowering. And you can even, if I put it on the bridge pickup, you can start to hear a little bit of that kind of note flip or that kind of like clustering happening. I find that's just on the edge, and if I take the cut off, it's off, that's on. Now you might think for single note things, cut being off, that's certainly not bad, but when you kind of play chords, I think it's just a little bit too much, and that's why I have the different scenes with the lower gain. So on scene 2 there was no low cut and it was slightly lower gain, and I didn't really get that overly sort of muscular kind of thing happening in the low end. Moving on to scene 4, so this is where I have my full drive sound with this amp, and it's using channel D of the amp block. And everything is still fairly similar, really. It's just I'm juicing up the gain and the overdrive all the way pretty much there to 9.10 and then 10. And then I get the full-on kind of drive sound with this ODS-100. That's sounding quite dark, and it really, I think for chords here and riffs and things, it probably is on the edge of what's usable, I think. And I do have additional or different Dumble presets with different Dumble models that kind of account for this. I think the HRM models are much better for rhythm and riffs and higher gain. I think I think in that HRM mod, the Hot Rubber Monkey mod, it just kind of tames some of those sort of more aggressive mids and lower mids. So yeah, this is the strongest drive sound that I've got in this preset, or the strongest amp channel I've got on this preset. Okay, so I'll tackle the left side of the amp, starting at the input block. I always have the gate turned off unless I've got a ridiculously high gain sound. I just don't like gates, although the Fractal gate is one of the best I've ever tried. The compressor block, I've got this as a Studio FF compressor, and then you can see the settings there. So threshold -45, 2.4 ratio, auto makeup gains on, level pull back to -4.45. Everything else I think is fairly standard. And then I've got 2 drive blocks in here. I don't often use them in this preset, but it's nice to have the option. And as I say, when I go to the effects section in the FC6, I can turn them on and off. Delay block, I've got stereo tape, which is my standard kind of sound here. Slightly smeared ratio. You should hear that, I think. So it just kind of like gently pans from left to right. Feedback at 20. This is probably just the standard stereo tape setting. The only thing is I have this tied to an expression pedal. Reverb, good old London plate. I think these are fairly standard settings here. I can't remember if I've changed them, but yeah, you can see what they are. It's a medium kind of, take the delay out. It's not super wet, but there's some nice space there of that plate. 13.7%. I have a looper in here. I often have a looper in my main presets just to be able to get, to doing some looping. And then the outputs, that's all standard. There's nothing changes, nothing crazy with the scene levels. They're all just normal. So yeah, that's a breakdown of my main favorite Dumble kind of tone that I play all the time. It's the one I gravitate to whenever I pick the guitar up and turn on the Axe effects. And certainly grab this guitar, but it works with all my guitars really nicely, I find. And certainly my favorite, the real sort of home comforting sound is that scene 3 with the cut drive and some delay on, and on that neck pickup. It's just so glassy and responsive. I do have several other Dumble presets that I use a fair amount. Variations on a theme, really. Fractal have tons of different Dumble options inside the FM3 and the Fractal world for you to explore. But this is the one I come back to all the time, and this is the one I was using on the jam video when I was doing the Fractal compare, and from that clip at the beginning that you saw. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for the kind words regarding the tone on my previous few videos. I hope this has been useful and you've got something from it. If you want to get the presets, I'll leave it in the description below, along with the backing track I'm using for the intro. If you'd like to support me, you could check out my app Solo for fretboard visualization and the course Ultimate Fretboard Visualization, which are linked also in the description below. And if you have any comments, drop them in the comment section. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, very much appreciated. And until the next video, bye-bye.